It's been 12 years for this, so drink it in. Still goes to one. What he loved to be immortality as an athlete, 19.79. It's a goal, it's 8 goals.
Good evening and welcome to Atlantic Television. With us here, and thank you for joining us on this evening show. On the show this evening, we shall take a look at a whole lot happening in this sporting world. Mauricio Pochettino says that the victory over Brighton and Hove Albion will be the turning point of their season. How realistic is this statement? Also, Manchester City's surprise exit in the Carabao Cup yesterday cause for worry and concern. What does this portend for them as the season progresses? The National Youth Games, it's 48 hours to the climax of the games. Team Rivers continues to go in for medal chase. These and many more will be us in RGV.
Goal. Goalkeeper missed it. Fight him. He does a right hand and down goes Hall straight away. That's where he's revealing the penalty. Oh, what a point to end it on. So now here's this winner at the bench. It's winner 12 years for this. So drink it in.
Yes, it's time to get started here, and of course, we'll take you through happenings, in the last few hours at the National Youth Games in Asaba, Delta State. Joining me this evening is our in-house analyst, Emmanuel Michael. Emmanuel, it's another show down here on Sports Extraordinary.
Yeah, good evening, Tempo. Good evening to our viewers out there. Of course, it's a great time to talk sport this evening. It's
a great time to talk sports, and we take our train down to Asaba in Delta State, where the 7th edition of the National Youth Games is ongoing. And of course, it is our duty to bring you, happenings. Just this evening, a lot has happened in the last 12 hours. But let's start with what I played at yesterday. It's on the news that Team Rivers had the most impressive outing at the ongoing National Sports Festival in Delta State, Asaba, winning 11 medals yesterday. In the 5th day of the event, 14-year-old Beauty Jumbo won the first gold medal for Team Rivers in the aerobic categories of the gymnastic event. 13-year-old Favor Nwamodu won Team Rivers its second gold medal in 10-meter air pistol shooting. John Nwachukwu, 13, floored its opponents to clinch the title in fine fashion, and a whole lot. We continue to see some of the athletes not doing badly at all, in getting medals. Team Rivers look more like, striving hard to get medals to really show that, yes, they are part of the competition. From 19th place now they are now in for the top 10. Before we look at what has happened, today, let's look at that zeal in them, trying to grab more medals to see how far they can at least make their way through to the top-ranked team.
For me, first, I want to say that it is a cheering news to hear that Team Rivers, they are beginning to live up to expectation. Because we were pretty worried a couple of days ago here in the studio because they find themselves in the 15th position or thereabout. And also, we contributed that to possibly because of the fact they had to arrive late, because the competition kicked off on Saturday. The kickoff ceremony started on Saturday, but they had to arrive the venue on Monday. So we were like, maybe that possibly was the case. But for me, I think yesterday was the peakest of their, moment where they were able to amass a gold medal, silver in different categories. So for me, I think it's a cheering news. And today as well, there are some feelers out there that they've been able to get one or two, silver medals and gold medals to also add to their kitty. And they are beginning to show that strength of what River State stands for. That resilience, for them to be able to bounce back. Even when the tide seems to be against them, they are trying to, maneuver their way and swing through this water and make a very strong finish out there. For me, I think it's a welcome development, and I believe if they can continue with this very tenacious, move, I see them finishing very strong, even though they did not start, at the best possible way that many of us here, sport journalists, had expected them, to start, competing toe-to-toe with the likes of me. I think it's a cherry news.
In Asaba, to give us a feel of, what has happened, in the last 12 hours. And some of them feel that Team Rivers are gradually getting back, to winning ways, trying to stroke for medals. But when they compare and contrast the ability of teams, the obvious truth is the difference between Delta State, what Delta State has achieved, and what Team Rivers have achieved is the infrastructure and the facility for this athlete, to train. In Delta, they have a culture of progression. They have a culture where every athlete, has a schedule because there are facilities that you need to train on. And, there's no hindrance as compared to Rivers. What does this say in preparation for subsequent edition of, the Youth Games, National Sports Festival, and every other championship? Because if Team Rivers went into that place with 22 medals, 22 events, to participate in 22 events with 190 contingents, the story should be different. But right now, we're yet to know whether Team Rivers are even in the top 10. Just maybe we'll wait till this evening to formally confirm that. But it looks like the difference between Team Lagos and Delta State is the fact that they have prepared facilities for the athletes to soar high.
Yes, and we're beginning to see that it's very, very obvious because for me, I think sport development should be about deliberate, actions, for states such as Delta and Bayelsa and the rest of them that have invested heavily in the massive sport infrastructural development. They are beginning to reap the fruit of what they've been able to sow. So it is very obvious that Rivers have not been able to live up to that standard where they see sports, as that key area where they can be able to harness, the potentials of our teaming youth out there. And that is why over the years, I will not say that the Commissioner of Sport in the state, talking about Barrister Christopher Green, is not doing his best, but he needs to do more, in the areas of trying to invest heavily in sport, structural development when it has to do with sporting activity, because when you do so, you have the edge to compete fair and square with other, states that have been developing, sport-wise in different areas. So this one should be an eye-opener for us or for Rivers for them to go back to the drawing board and be able to develop their infrastructural activity in different local governments, because you can't just set it in Port Harcourt as at the metropolis, because we have about they have about 23 local governments. So there is need for them to evenly spread the development of sport in different local government, and by doing so, they will have this deliberate and a conscious attempt to look at the fact that sport is one key area that they can be able to harness youth and keep some youth busy out there. If they realize this fact, they will surely invest massively in sporting infrastructure, and by doing so, we are sure going to get the result in the nearest future that whenever this kind of big and massive competition is up and going, we can be rest assured that our names or rivers and names can be top there with the likes of Delta, Lagos, and Bayelsa, who are doing pretty well out there.
Now, we hear that teams like Bayelsa State, they've continued their impressive outing. Yesterday they won like 9 gold medals.
Yeah.
And that for me is massive. I talked about the other day that, states that prepare, you get to see them square and clearly, because you see the medals haul that they go in on daily basis. So this is a true testament to the effort of every state government towards sports development, isn't it?
It is truly, because if you don't invest heavily, then when this kind of massive competition or tournament is ongoing, then you will lag behind, certainly. Why? Because you have not invested in that area. So for me, it's a clear testament of the fact that they have been able to, put some amount of money into the sporting arena, and that is why they are reaping the fruit of what they have sown over the couple of years. And we know Bayelsa State is one state that their previous governor, have taken sport as one key area. That is why they
more like a policy now.
Exactly.
Every government that comes in, there is this
policy that you must
policy
invest
transition
in the sporting years.
that you must invest in sports and make it viable for the state, for the athletes. Before now, Bayelsa State used to struggle.
Yeah.
But now we have them not just in wrestling, we have them all over, because they have known how to nurture this. They have 9 local government, but somehow these talents have been well discovered and groomed for events like this, even if they are at infant stage, but they're giving them that platform, and some of them are really utilizing them. Otherwise, how do you look at the state amassing 9 gold medals in a particular day? It shows that in those competitions they have prepared massively, and for them to even get to that level, they might have contested deeply with other states, and then for them to have won that one. So much is really needed in states. And I asked myself, at the end of this tournament, will this be an eye-opener for others? Because we come here, the last time in Kwara State, this is the same thing we said, the state that did not do well, the next edition in Delta State, will they improve? But it looks like some states that do not even have penchant for sports, talk more of having strong desire to invest heavily in sports.
For me, I think some of the states, they just take it as a cultural entertainment. Each year that whenever we are having the National Youth Game, they just go there with this thing at the back of their mind that they are just going out there to enjoy themselves and take part, just to answer presents in this competition, without paying much attention to the main purpose and reason of such competition, which is about sport development, about unearthing talent and polishing them, preparing them for transitional takeover when it has to do with the national level. So for me, I think this is an eye-opener, because these things are not rocket science. Because if you fail to invest, if you fail to plan, automatically you have plan to fail. So that is what it is. It should be an eye-opener for different states, that indeed sporting arena is one area that they can use to improve even the tax of the state as well.
Okay, we're still looking at the National Youth Games and how states are, of course, churning in medals, from different sporting events there. And one thing that is also, I look at is the activities of the main organizing committee.
Yeah.
They have a lot of. I'm just wondering how they were able to amass, the number of coaches or those to officiate each of these events. So far, we have not heard any misdemeanor. I've not heard any, apart from 8 cheats and all that.
Yeah.
Well, even the issue of murder pardon, I've not really heard it. No, athlete poaching. These areas were main concern or were serious concern before now. But looks like we've not heard much of this. So maybe in terms of organization, they may not be near perfect, but we've seen a great improvement. And I mean, I'm sure you have your assessment so far and what you've read online. You think that the organizing committee have done well so far?
Well, for me, I think they have done well. They deserve a pass mark for me. Looking at the event that is ongoing, and from other credible and reliable sources that have gathered some news out there, I think they have done fairly well. There's no any competition in the world that you say that they have a perfect organization. Even the impeccable organizational structure that we saw at just concluded Wimbledon a few weeks ago, we still see some hitches here and there. Some time ago, we had the stadium lights when he had issue. We had some crowd violence. We had protesters coming out to throw, pelt, bottled water and the rest of it out there. These are some of the hitches, that they do encounter. So for me, I think it has not. You will not say that it has, been totally free from some of these hitches. But these things are bound, for me. But generally, I want to give them kudos and credence for what they've been able to do. The Commission of Sport at the state, who also double as the local organizing committee, talking about Okowa, he has done a perfect job because we haven't heard of any, major issues here and there, unlike what we used to see in the past. I think for me, it boils down to deliberate plan to, make sure that they put their house in order, because if they actually got it right, this year, definitely they will be favored in a subsequent time, to be given that responsibility to host such a massive tournament in the future.
All right, let's keep our finger crossed and see how far. I'm sure at the end of today, we will begin to now know clearly the states that might make podium finishes, as well as states that are in the top 10. But let's tell you that Delta State currently tops the medal table. I'm sure that they've improved now. Let's go straight to the medal table and see what is happening at the medal table. And early this morning, we saw clearly, how the medal table has really taken shape. Delta State, they are currently topping with 26 gold medals as at the morning. I'm sure from then till now, they have won more medals, and the medal table would have increased. Lagos State are second, Bayelsa State are third, but what it takes is for those states who have 7 medals in the morning, even if there's any changes now, what Team Rivers need to do now is to win more gold medals, because at this level, gold speaks volume than any other colors of medals. And I'm just wondering how they're going to go do it, because it looks like the athletics seems to be the area of advantage for Team Rivers.
Sure, for me, I think the coaches out there knows what is expected of them, especially at the time where we have barely few hours before the closing ceremony. I think what they need to do now is for the coaches to talk to the athlete out there, tell them what they need to do, go for the gold, charge them to go for the gold, because as it stands right now, it is the gold that matters, So for me, I believe the coaches knows what is expected of them, and if they can be able to charge all the athletes to do the needful, I believe we can still finish very strong in the medals log.
We hope to finish very strongly, and that's for me the main thing. But a lot of person will say that it doesn't matter where the states finish. I mean, what matters is that it's a breeding ground for discovery. But beyond that, I mean, for the sake of pride, don't you think that where you finish on the medal table should matter to you?
Yes, for me, it matters. That bragging right is there, that whenever, in the sound of history, we still refer to this year when Edo State hosted this kind of a tournament. I mean, if you finish very strong, your name will still be at the sound of time that such state, made such an impact. So for me, it is very necessary that, they finish very.
We talk about football. Mauricio Pochettino of Chelsea is a happy man. We'll get to know why he's a happy man, and he's talking tough. We also, I'll get to hear from more reasons why Pep Guardiola and his men lost the game in the EFL Cup yesterday. Don't go anywhere. This is Atlantic Sports Extraordinary.
Went for goal. Goalkeeper missed it. Offside there, but he does the right hand, and down goes Paul straight away. Elsewhere, beyond Israel, but the penalty.
Oh, what a point to end it on.
So now gets his winner at the bench. And winner 12 years for this. So drink it in. Immortality as an athlete, 19.79. It's a goal, it's 8 goals. Went for goal. Goalkeeper missed it. Offside there, but he does the right hand, and down goes Paul straight away. Elsewhere, beyond Israel, but the penalty.
Oh, what a point to end it on.
So now gets his winner at the bench. And winner 12 years for this. So drink it in. Immortality as an athlete, 19.79. It's a goal, it's 8 goals.
Welcome back from the short break. It's T Sports Extraordinary here on Atlantic Television Network. Let's talk about club football now. And we'll start with club football, all that played out in Europe yesterday, and then we'll take it through, we'll bring you back home, where we'll take a look at the Nigeria Premier Football League, the start of the league, and every other preparations ahead of the first match day in the Nigeria Premier Football League. Let's start with the Serie A, where we saw games played yesterday, and Victor Osimhen finally has ended his 5-game goal drought, scoring Napoli's at least scoring a goal in the 4-1 win over their counterpart, their Udinese. This looks more like, I mean, why are Nigerians counting? Or why is it that people are counting? Well, I mean, when you don't score, when you are good in scoring, and you don't score for some time, people, a lot of people ask a lot of questions. Maybe same is for Osimhen, but it looks like the pressure is down. Now, when you score, there's that natural desire to score more.
Yeah, for me, definitely. There is this thing about strikers. They always want to get the goals. They are always hungry for the goals because, your teammates are relying on you as a front man, as a point man to, hit the ball behind the back of the net. And that is why when a striker has this issue of goal drought, it becomes worrisome to that striker, because a whole lot is expected of you.
But why do strikers, experience goal drought when you should be able to position rightly? Sometimes it's also the cagey nature because when they know that you are the top or the marksman, everybody tends to mark you out. The defenders are just on you.
By playing some players outside of their position, and you know what that means. Some of those players will find it very difficult to, adapt to that position or to that very wing as well. So for me, good enough, then it will certainly affect his. So that will go a whole long way to douse the tension. But you saw his body language, after the goal. Natural Osimhen, when he scores, there's a way he celebrates. You see that joy and euphoria in his face. But yesterday, when he scored, there was not too much fanfare and happiness in his face.
Maybe because of the criticism that has come his way for not scoring in previous games and the fact that more like, okay, let me just take it calm. Let me see, this is just a one-off thing. If I continue, maybe that joy and happiness will come back naturally.
Let's just keep our fingers crossed and hope that is the case. Because, they first got a penalty, and Osimhen should have taken the penalty, but he had to leave the ball and hand it over to Zielinski.
But how do you know he handed it over?
We saw the footage now. We saw the footage of those games. We had to hand it over to
by virtue of what he did last season with Napoli,
yeah.
Has he been given the license to be the penalty taker? Is he now the best taker of the club?
No, I don't think so, because every team, or I mean every club, has a specialty in penalty taking. And for them last season, I think Kivica Kvaratskhelia was the man assigned to take some of those penalties. But at some stage in the Champions League game, they got the penalty.
Because he needed to upgrade his goal scoring.
Exactly, they got the penalty, and Kivica Kvaratskhelia, went there and he lost the penalty. So as game progresses or as the season progresses, sometimes Victor Osimhen comes into the fray to take the penalties as well. So for me, I think it's about responsibility, it's about confidence, and it's about the belief that the coach has in some of his players.
But I haven't seen him miss that penalty. Do you think that there is any form of confidence towards him to continue, taking penalties for the club?
Well, for me, I do not, subscribe with that he should be the number one, penalty taker in his club. They have the coaches assign someone that takes that responsibility, or except when necessary. The one assigned to take the penalty decided to show that benevolence, that gesture, because of your closeness with him as a striker. He can
or maybe because of the fact that you need to
up your goal tally, or even score goals. I mean, if you are having a goal drought, sometimes there are some persons that have this good heart. When they see that their striker is having a goal drought and they got a penalty, someone different is always assigned to take the penalty. But because of the goal drought of that striker, that certain player that is assigned to take the penalty often sometimes gives it to the striker to get the goal, so as to get his confidence back, because he helps the team in general. So for me, I think Victor Osimhen should focus on, banging in the goal from open play. This is what strikers are made up of.
Victor Osimhen finally ended his 5-game goal drought as he scored in a 4-1 win over Napoli, over Udinese yesterday, and more like getting back his confidence gradually. How far can he move from here? We keep our eyes crossed in the coming days, but it's good that getting to see him score again after a lengthy, maybe after 4 games he has played. But, there are other results of games played. Cagliari lost to AC Milan 1-3, ended yesterday. Empoli defeated Salernitana 1-0. Verona.
So for me, I think this is the beauty of, elite football out there.
Elite football, and I'll get to see how it goes. But, another weekend of showdown we're going to see in the Italian League. But away from that, let's talk about what is happening in the French Ligue 1. It's usually easy not to really get glimpse of attraction from the Ligue 1, because the likes of Messi that makes the headlines, they no longer the likes of Neymar, except for Mbappe, who is very quiet now. It looks like a man whose brothers left him, and but then we still get to hear more news from the Ligue 1, and one of those news is the arrival of General Gattuso. General Gattuso has been appointed by Marseille as the new head coach following the resignation of Marcelino a few days ago. Gattuso at 45, I want to begin to wonder what kind of tactics, what kind of coaching acumen he will bring to a club like Marseille. Marseille not doing badly this season so far.
Well, for me, I was very shocked, on why they had to sack their, former coach, because they are not doing badly. They are seated.
I don't think it was sacked. He said he resigned. Maybe a forced resignation, but it's resignation.
No, according to a credible, source or report, that the coach has a kind of fracas, internal issue with the board, and that is why the coach had to, throw in the towel, giving a way for them to, go and look for Gennaro Gattuso out there. But we want to say that Marseille, they were not doing bad, this season as well. So for me, I think the caliber of coach they employed this time around, that is an angle I'm pretty worried, because Gattuso is not that experienced coach you want to say. Though he has coached the likes of Parma, AC Milan, Napoli as well, even Valencia. But does he have that requisite experience to, lead Marseille to challenge for the title with the likes of Lyon and PSG in the fray? That is a question that is left to be answered, because checking through the profiles of Gattuso, I can't see him. I did not see him winning any important laurel, exception of 2021 stroke 2019, yes, stroke 2021 when he won the Italian Cup with Napoli. Exception of that, I haven't seen any great achievement that Gattuso has brought into the fray as a coach. So for me, I think let's just keep our fingers crossed, hoping that he's going to do pretty well at Marseille. But he's not the caliber of coach.
Even the board, I mean, talking about caliber of coach, even the board understands that this is a test run.
That is why they had to give him
that's 1 year, one year contract. It's so he knows that if I don't do well,
he's going to be fired.
He's going to be fired, and he has every reason to do well. But if you look at the caliber of the team that he's going to coach, do you think that he can muster that confidence? And what brings confidence is victory, getting good results, the fans, the board, and then the confidence of your players.
For me, that will be very difficult. Why? Because Gattuso has a different culture that he's going to take down there in France. He has lived largely of his life at Italy. Living his culture and whatever he has, done at Italy, heading down to, the French League One. I think it's going to be a very difficult task out there because he needs time to also understand, the philosophy of the club, understand the character and behavior of some of his players, and also to adapt to the cultures of, the city. These are different things that you don't just rush like that before you can be able to get these things right. So for me, I think it's just a test run, and no doubt that's why I'm not surprised why they had to hand him a 1 year contract, because if they know that he didn't do well, he's going to be put down. For me,
well, okay, but I mean, we cannot early days, but the man, I'm sure he has evolved a lot. I cannot say that General Gattuso will be that man that we saw in Italian Serie A, because the French league is a different terrain, different ball game is what we're going to see week in, week out, and there's no respect for big teams, except for the fact that PSG somehow found a way to
bust out the result. They are still struggling. They are not at their peak.
So it's going to be you need the best of players, and that's one area that I think that these players are not his, so to say, because he never started with the club last season. So the philosophy of the club a little bit will change. Maybe if they suffer for a while, it is going to be very interesting to get to see him flying high. If the players come to the party for him, then we'll get to see a new General Gattuso.
Sure.
And that will really help him in his stay. But let's see how it all goes. Real Madrid is another team in the La Liga Santander that after they lost to their neighbors, Atletico Madrid, they have not been in fine form. I mean, somebody will always argue that Madrid cannot be the Madrid we know a few years ago, because the Madrid we have now, Madrid you can predict. They have young players who still some of them lack experience. Vinicius Junior, who have mustered some experience, is known there, and Benzema is one player who showed that the burden of the team, especially in terms of goal scoring, is no longer there. So you ask yourself, when they lose, one shouldn't be surprised, like the loss against Atletico Madrid, but somehow they were able to get back to winning ways against the Las Palmas.
I think it's a very nice one for them. Having lost to their rival the previous week, talking about Atletico Madrid, they had to bounce back, yesterday with that 2-goal win. And what interests me is that some of his key players were rested. Carlo Ancelotti decided to rest the likes of Jude Bellingham. He didn't play that game. We saw Modric also on the bench. Vinicius Junior, just like you said, is out injured. So for me, I think it's about transition. He's trying to, build that midfield that is filled of younger, stars in the likes of Tchouameni, Camavinga, Valverde, and Jude Bellingham. It's about trying to create something different because of what we used to know of Madrid, that have this established player that whenever you see Madrid lineup, you see Benzema there, certainly you see Modric. there. You see, Tony Cruz there. So for me, I think it's about a rebuilding process, and they are taking it very gradually. That is why they even have a striker in the person of Joselu, who naturally wouldn't fit into Madrid squad.
Yeah, Madrid won 2-0 yesterday against Las Palmas. Atletico Bilbao, in other results, defeated the Getafe. Played a 2-2 draw with Getafe. Villarreal are lost at home to Girona. I mean, this is another loss for Villarreal, and I'm beginning to be worried. They sold Jackson to Chelsea, sold Chukwueze to AC Milan, and looks like other players who left. I mean, they might be struggling this season because this is the first time we're going to see them set top players from the club. And I mean, when you lose at home to a club like Girona, then truly, something is really going on with the Yellow Submarine.
Definitely, something is really going on wrong for the Yellow Submarine. But you can't take anything away from Girona. They are very good this season. They are seated at the top of the log as we stand, closely followed by Real Madrid. That is to tell you how far they've been able to improve this season. So
and that's interesting, you know. It's good to sometimes, leave the ordinary and talk about the extraordinary.
Yeah.
Nobody would have believed that FC Girona, will not be the top, or will not be at the top of the La Liga Santander. It doesn't matter whether they win. This is like a trophy for them.
Sure, definitely. And if you watch the style of play, the way they play with confidence, you can be rest assured that indeed they are going to do something very magnificent. Gone are the days where, the La Liga Santander looks like a one-man horse race or two-man horse race where you see that stating the pace. Things like this time around that a team such as Girona is stopping stopping the table chart. So for me, I think it's a welcome development.
And I'm not surprised so far with the way the results have gone. If you look at the games we have seen so far in the La Liga Santander, one thing certain is the way there hasn't been any respect for big teams. Any team stands to be beaten. Maybe Barca have been a little bit lucky, but Valencia lost, and Real Madrid have lost. It looks like all the teams have taken shares of somehow they've also been beaten this season. And looks like an evenly matched days, but
by 2 goals at 81st minute, they had to rally round at the dot of 8 minutes remaining
and bounce back
and win the game 3-2. Last week, they managed to draw the game. They could not win their last game. They managed, to draw the game 2-2. It clearly tells you how team have improved so much in the La Liga this time around. It's a welcome development.
Now let's move to the to England, where we saw the League Cup played yesterday.
Yeah.
Teams in English Premier League, especially those in Europe, will be fighting for a quadruple. If you're playing the UEFA Champions League, you have the FA Cup to play, you have the league proper, and then maybe you talk about the EFL Cup. The Carabao Cup is a club that has been underestimated big time, but it is when you fail to win any trophy that you have to value this particular trophy because of the value it adds to you having to win something. But let's take a look at what played yesterday. Manchester City, losing to Newcastle. Not many saw that coming, but then it looks like Pep Guardiola did not care what happened or what played out yesterday night.
For me, watching the game yesterday and looking at the body language of Joseph Pep Guardiola, it seems as though he has prioritized some of the competition that he's going to give more attention to. Unlike the natural Pep Guardiola that we know, when he's losing at 70-something minutes or 80 minutes, definitely you will see him standing at the touchline, dishing out 1 or 2 instructions out there. Sometimes he could be emotional. Sometimes he could be very dramatic. Sometimes he goes down on his knees, just trying to, get across, to pass information across to his players out there. But yesterday we see him just sitting down, very relaxed, cross his legs. It clearly tells you that maybe he has prioritized some of the game that he needs to,
look at it differently. Maybe he wants to win, but he lost. Will you say it is about fatigue, lethargy, or stress on the side of the players?
I will not attribute that to the side of the players. I attribute that to the tactics, of Pep Guardiola. We know Guardiola is one man that can always twerk his team to ground out the result. But yesterday we saw, his marksman talking about Erling Haaland sitting on the bench and some other of his big name out there, he did not make use of them. You know, he decided to use some of the fringe squad, you know, that is going to just play. So for me, I think the main reason is that he has prioritized some of the competition that he wants to give much attention to. And again, don't take anything away from the Newcastle team. Newcastle, you know, after beating the likes of Sheffield United, hammering them 8-0 over the week.
So they're basking in the euphoria of that win.
Exactly. And for them to be able to muzzle out that result yesterday, it wasn't a fluke. They played very well, got an early goal, and were able to hold on to that goal. It clearly tells you that they were deliberate about what they did yesterday. If the goal came in a dying minute, you can also say, yes, possibly Pep Guardiola wanted to win the game, but, you know, football is another thing that when they score you at the dying minute, you could find it very difficult. But this is a goal that came very early, and the caliber of coach and the team of Pep Guardiola, you expect them to equalize even before the dot of halftime. But he didn't do that. He left some of his key players on the bench. It clearly tells you that, he has maybe his attention focused on the Champions League or the league or some other competition out there. But like I said, you can't take anything away from Newcastle.
Obviously, the dream of a quadruple has been extinguished. Yeah. So maybe another treble in the offing or in the chase. But looks like or a different priority altogether for Pep Guardiola. But it looks like they may not be part of this particular one. But, I mean, it could be a blessing in disguise for them. One trophy, I mean, one distraction is out already now. Yeah. So just to focus on the area that they desire.
And a blessing in disguise for other teams as well, because Manchester City is always a threat in any competition that they are. So other teams, at least they can have that.
But in the last 2 years, one can argue that they have not won this particular trophy. So maybe not the priority of Pep Guardiola, because if that is, Pep Guardiola has what it takes to muster, win, and maybe get to the finals.
Definitely, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Let's talk about Mauricio Pochettino, one man who, of course, I mean, to win these days is a hard knock to crack, but somehow they were able to crack down their opener yesterday, Brighton and Hove Albion, and it's really a hard knock. But they had, you know, I won't say it's tactics, but whatever he did yesterday worked out for him and they won.
Sure, he maneuvered his way yesterday, and they went.
And this is the approach we expect from the caliber of a coach.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when Jose Mourinho was there a few years back, doesn't matter what Chelsea play. You say Chelsea are not playing those tiki-taka, they don't play good football, but get me the result. And in games like this, that is when you get to see them, you know, so muzzle out that win and grab it and run away. And that's what Mauricio Pochettino, maybe that might be, like you said, that it is the beginning of new things to come.
Definitely, this is what we expect of a coach, the caliber of Mauricio Pochettino. Just like you mentioned, Jose Mourinho. He said some time ago when he was interviewed, they asked him, Manchester City had 99.9% possession of the ball. What do you say to that? Guess the response of Mourinho. He said that they can take the ball home, but he takes the 3 points. So for me,
it matters so much to him, you know, because that is what is recorded on the log.
So most time, as a big coach, you must always find your way, you know, to grind out the result when it is needed. And Chelsea needed that result very seriously yesterday to at least boost that confidence in them ahead of the match against Fulham in the weekend. So for me, I think it's a nice one for them. But they still find it very difficult to score as much goal as possible for me. That is the angle.
I mean, other result we saw Everton, I'm surprised win over Aston Villa. 2-1 it ended, you know, in favor of Everton. Blackburn also hosted at Cardiff 5-2. Bournemouth defeated Stoke City. Brentford defeated, Brentford lost to Arsenal 1-0. I told about Chelsea. Fulham defeated Norwich City in that particular one. But then, while we look at the next round of games in the EFL Cup, these are the fourth round draws, and Mansfield will play against Port Vale. Is which versus Fulham? Manchester United.
From the feelers we just got from Davison Owumi and the league board, I think we'll be rest assured that the league is going to kick off this weekend. But we can't really say that yes, the league is going to kick off. Why? Because we've seen a subsequent time when.
But it was not 48 hours.
For me, this is Nigeria, and this is a different climb. We know how we do our things. Okay. But let's just keep our fingers crossed, hoping that the league is going to kick off. Rivers
United, Eyimba Football Club, the likes of Bend Insurance will not be playing this weekend because of continental engagement. But you think that the teams are well prepared, you know, in terms of having quality play, because these games will be shown on TV.
Sure, I believe the teams are very prepared because having postponed the kickoff date twice, I believe the players as well will be eager to get to the pitch, especially now that they are going to air the match on. Live. I think the people can still see them. They are selling themselves out there. So for me, I believe all the clubs are very ready.